Hello students, welcome to English Classroom. I'm Dr. Suchitra Singh, Assistant Professor of English, VGDC, Vidyanagar. Today, we'll be learning about framing questions for semester 4, prescribed by Osmania University for BA, BCom, BSc and BBA. Before we can go ahead with our lesson, let us look at this picture. Yeah. Can you frame questions by looking at this picture? Yeah. We can frame questions like, what are the students doing, right? Or, which subject is the teacher teaching, right? Similarly, let us look at this picture. What questions can you frame by looking at this picture? What is the bag? What is the boy carrying in the basket, right? Or where are they going? Are they going to the supermarket? Right? So we can make different questions, frame different questions by looking at this picture. Similarly, look at this picture. What questions can be framed? To whom is she talking on the phone? Or how long has she been talking on the phone? Right? Who is that talking on the phone? Right? So you can make different questions or you can frame different questions by looking at the picture. So today our topic is on how to frame questions. So our objectives are, why are we learning this in this class? We teach this in the class to help students improve engagement, comprehension, and critical thinking, and also to improve the process of asking insightful questions. To help students to ask good questions. To help students to frame different types of questions. And help students learn the art of asking the right question, gain deep insight, and take informed decision, and develop effective solutions, right? So our objective is to help students to ask insightful questions, to frame different types of questions, and to gain deep insights and take informed decision and develop effective solutions, right? So with this, we'll start our questions, learning session of how to frame questions. Before that, I would like to just read out a few lines of Kipling's poem where he says, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why, and when and how, and where and who. I keep 6 honest serving men. So these, according to him, is that these are the 6 questions with which we gain a lot of knowledge and information. We also know that due to questioning only, we have come up with so many discoveries. Had Wright brothers not questioned, why is it that only birds can fly? Why can't we fly? Aeroplanes would not have been discovered. Newton, had he not questioned, why is it that the apple falls down and doesn't go upward? So many laws have come out. So we know that only through questioning that learning takes place and great discoveries have come forward. Even today, they're questioning, why is this virus causing so much of pandemic? Why is it, how is it spreading? What is it that can be done to stop this spread, right? So with these questions, there are so many investigations that are going on to find a vaccine for COVID-19. So everything only by questioning. You go to a doctor, he will question you, what's your problem, right? Only by questioning, he can understand your problem and you can answer the question, right? So what do we learn? What is the purpose of asking questions? We ask questions for practical purpose, right? We ask questions to seek information, to get confirmation, right? We ask questions to choose between alternatives. And we ask questions for inventions, discoveries, and progress in human life. So we know that it is only by questioning that we can get great amount of information. Or today they are questioning to confirm whether the vaccine that has come up so far is good for people or not, right? We have to choose between alternatives. Do you want to be affected by COVID-19 or would you like to wear your mask and go, right? So this is how questioning helps us in gaining lots of knowledge, discoveries, information, etc. Right? Now, while we are framing questions, if asking questions is a skill, asking questions correctly is an art, right? So we'll see what are the different ways that we ask questions and what type of answers do we expect. Say I ask a question, where do you work? And I have to answer it incomplete. I have to say, I work in the university. Or I ask a question, are you a teacher? My answers can vary, like I can just say yes, or I can say, yes, I am. Or I can give an answer, yes, I am a teacher. Or then, do you like teaching or administration? I can say, I like both. I can say, I like teaching, right? Or if we ask a question like, teaching is a noble profession, isn't it? Yes, it is. I can give an answer. So see, the examples that we have done so far, like where do you work? Are you a teacher? Do you like teaching or administration? Teaching is a noble profession, isn't it? Different types of questions I have made and I got different answers. All the answers are not same, right? So this tells us that we have different types of questions that we ask every day in our life. So what are those different types of questions? They are information questions or WH questions, yes, no questions, alternative questions, tag questions, negative questions, and WH questions with prepositions, right? So what are they? Information questions or WH questions, yes, no questions, alternative questions, tag questions, negative questions, WH questions with preposition. Now we'll try to understand each one in detail. Say information questions or which is also known as WH questions. Information question begin with who, what, where, how much, and so on. And they are called as question words. So what are information questions? They begin with who, what, where, how much, and so on, and they are called question words. In other words, in WH questions, interrogative words are used, right? Words like what, where, right? How, interrogative words we are using. Questions using these words cannot be answered with yes or no. Some information is given in response. Now, when you ask WH questions, you cannot get an answer in say yes or no. So you have to give a complete answer. Hence, they are called information questions or WH questions. So what are WH questions? Questions that begin with who, what, where, how, which are interrogative words, and these questions cannot be answered with yes or no, right? Now let us understand this with some example, right? Say, what? What is one information question? Now what we ask for, we use what for asking information. For example, what is your name? I cannot answer like yes, no. I have to give a full answer. My name is Suchitra Singh, right? What shall I keep in these bags? So I have to give an answer, like you can keep books in this bag or you can keep vegetables in this bag. So I have to give a complete answer for that. So what asks for information. And when refers to time. When I use the word when, I should use it to asking for time. Like when will you go to the market? Or when will we board the flight? So when is used to refer to time. Now here also I cannot say yes, no. I will go to the market at 5 o'clock or I will go to the market tomorrow, right? So I have to give a complete answer over there. Then where? Where refers to place. When I want to ask question regarding the place, then I will use the word where to question. I will ask, where do you study? Right? I will ask, where do you study? Or I'm going to ask, where will you stay tonight? Right? So these are the questions I will ask, or answers can be, I'm going to stay at my friend's place, or I study in the university, right? And then we ask questions using why, right? We ask questions using why, and why is used for asking questions for reason or for purpose. So you can learn language by learning these bits. I can ask, why is it your favorite subject? Why are you silent? Why do you want to do engineering only? Why don't you want to do medicine? Purpose, right? So why is used to ask for reason and for purpose. Then we have questions which we can start with the word which. Now, which refers to a set of choices. I can ask, which subject do you like most? Right? Which stream would you like to go for your further studies? Science, commerce, right? Or which color do you want? So which refers to a set of choices where I'm asking you, right? Then we ask questions using the word how. How asks about the manner and the method. Say, how do you go to college? How do you manage to do so many things at a time? Right? How is it that you're always late? Right? So we can ask about the manner and method. How did you come to this conclusion? Right? Then how many asks about countable quantity also, like how I can use for asking about countable quantity. How many books do you have? How many children do you have? How many hours are left? Right? So countable quantity also we use how. We use how to talk about uncountable quantity also. How much do you love your profession? How much oil do we need for this month? How much knowledge does he has? Right? So we can use how to ask about the manner and method. We can use how to ask questions on countable quantity. We can use how to ask questions on uncountable quantity. Right? Next, question words who, whom, and whose are used to asking about people. We use these words to ask about people. Now we use who when the answer is the subject of the verb. For example, who is he? And I say he is Raj. Whom we use when the answer is the object of the verb. Whom is she talking to? She is talking to Sita. Right? We are using this. So what do we learn over here? We learn that who, whom, and whose are used to ask questions about people. We use who when the answer is the subject of the verb. We use whom when the answer is the object of the verb. Now, whose is used to talk about ownership. Whose book is this? Whose house is this? Right? Whose class are you attending? Right? So this way we use our word who, whom, and whose. Right? Now, next, so we are finished with all our WH questions. So we know that in our WH questions, we have different questions where we use what, where, how much, etc. Right? We use what when we want to ask for information. We use when we refer to time. We use which when it refers to set of choices. We use how when we want to ask about manner, method, countable quantity, uncountable quantity, right? And then where to use our who, whom, and whose. Now the next type of question that we ask is yes/no questions. These questions are usually formed by using helping verbs do and be, right? Now the response to such question may be affirmative yes or no. So the second type of question that we ask is yes/no questions, and these questions are usually formed by using helping verb do and be. And the response to such questions may be affirmative, yes or no. For example, are you a teacher? Yes. Right? No. If I'm not a teacher, I can say no. If I'm a teacher, I can say yes. Now, in your affirmative, does is used for a singular subject. Right? Does she work at home? Does he come home late every day? Right? And do is used for plural subject and for pronouns I and you. Do you walk to school? Right? Do they behave this way every time? So we use do for plural subjects or for pronouns, right? So we know that does is used for singular subject and do is used for plural subject. Now, we use the word did with singular and plural subject to form past tense. For example, did you go to the gym yesterday? Right? Or did they go to the gym yesterday? So did is used for both singular as well as plural. And we use this did to ask about something that has happened in the past, right? We use is with a singular subject and are with plural subject and you. For example, is Sita a teacher? Are those people English? Right? So for the singular pronoun I, we add the verb am with is, am, are, and the form of the main verb remains the same. For example, am I coming to the market too? Right? So what we have learned? That we learned that we use is, that is the helping verb is used in the question with a singular subject. Is Sita a teacher? And we use are when it is a plural. Are those people English? Right? And then we also know that for the singular pronoun I, we add the verb am with is, am, are and form the main verb and form. And then the form of the main verb remains the same. It does not change. For example, am I coming to the market too? Right? Now, so we have done WH questions. We have done yes, no questions, right? Now in yes, no questions, we have learned that there are again where you try to ask yes, no questions, where you use does for singular subject, you use do for plural subjects, right? And you use did for singular and plural subject in the past. Now, the next type of question that we always ask is alternative questions. Alternative questions offer alternatives and the response may be either or both or neither of the alternatives. Such questions are called alternative questions, right? Alternative questions are used with the word or, and they cannot be answered with yes or no. Even for alternative questions, like WH questions, we need a full sentence for the answer. Would you like to have black coffee or milk tea? Right? I would prefer black coffee. My answer should be complete. Right? So, alternative questions offer alternatives and the response may either be both, either of it or both or neither of the alternatives. Such questions are called alternative questions and they are used with the word or. And we know that alternative questions cannot be answered with yes or no. You need a full sentence. Now, example, do you like teaching or administration? Right? Do you like teaching or administration? Now, we can also form alternative questions with an auxiliary verb. We use form alternative questions with an auxiliary verb be, do, or have plus subject plus main verb or with a modal verb plus subject plus main verb. So we can also form alternative questions with auxiliary verbs. For example, will she buy an ice cream or fruit salad? Does she work in the city or in the suburbs? Are you reading or are you writing? Right? So we can frame alternative questions with helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. So alternative interrogatives are questions that allow for two or more alternative different answers. In other words, you are providing a chance for the listener, right? Would you like vanilla or chocolate ice cream? I may say either of it, or I like vanilla, or I like both. My answers can be anything, right? So this is about alternative questions. Then we also frame negative questions. Now, what are negative questions? A negative question is one that is worded in such a way as to require a no response for an affirmative answer and yes response for a negative answer. Listen this carefully. A negative question is one that is worded in such a way as to require a no response for an affirmative answer and yes response for a negative answer. In other words, negative questions switch the yes-no response order of a regular or positive question to a less intuitive no-yes order. For example, would you mind driving me to my class at the English Island on Tuesday? If my answer is positive, I'll start with a negative one. No, I don't mind driving you. See how the response changes. Would you mind driving me to my class at the English Island on Tuesday? And you want to give a positive answer, but you start with a negative word, that is, you say, no, I don't mind. I'm driving you. But you want to give a negative answer, you will start with a positive word. Say, yes, I do mind. I have an appointment at that same time. So how you switch the yes, no, and no, yes order, right? So this is called as negative questions. This is how we frame negative questions. The other way of questioning questions that we use is tag questions. What are tag questions? Tag question is a statement followed by a question tag. Note that the question tag at the end draws attention to the statement that precedes it, right? Such questions are called tag questions, right? So such questions are called tag questions. Question tags actually are not questions. They only expect an agreement. So we can say that they may be remembered as confirmation questions, right? So tag questions are used only in conversation and not in formal English, right? So what is the other way of questions that we ask? That is tag questions. And tag questions, the question tag at the end draws attention to the statement that precedes it, right? And such questions are called tag questions. Question tags are not actually questions. They only expect agreement, right? So tag questions are used only in conversation and not in formal English. Now, what are the rules for tag questions? If the statement is in the affirmative, the tag is in the negative. For example, you are a student. The statement is positive. Then you're confirming it by giving a negative tag. So you say, aren't you? He is clever. A positive statement. And then you're confirming it by saying, isn't she? Right? So what do we learn? What is the first rule? If the statement is in the affirmative, the tag is in the negative, right? If the statement is in negative, the tag is affirmative. For example, you aren't a bad student. It is in negative. And your tag will be, are you? So you aren't a bad student. Are you? He cannot swim. Can he? So with this, we learn two rules over here, that if the statement is in affirmative, the tag is in negative, like you are a student, aren't you? And if the statement is in negative, the tag is in affirmative, That is, you aren't a bad student, are you? Right? Next, the next rule is the subject of the tag question is always a pronoun and it is a substitute for the subject of the statement. For example, Ramesh is a student, isn't he? So always the tag question, it is always, if it is Ramesh, you will write he. If it is Sita, you will write she. So it is always in pronoun. Zaira isn't a teacher, is she? Right? So the pronoun is used in the tag according to the number. That is singular, plural. Gender, that is masculine, feminine. And person, first, second, third of the subject of the statement. So what is our third rule? The subject of the tag question is always a pronoun and it is a substitute for the subject of the statement. Right? Example, Ramesh is a student, isn't he? Right. Now, the pronoun is used in the tag according to the number. Singular, plural, right? Gender, masculine, what we said. So we have said that Ramesh is a student, isn't he? Zaira is a teacher, is she? Now look at this sentence. Ramesh and Zaira are students, aren't they? Now the pronoun changes depending on the number, right? Aren't they? We are using over here. Here, because they are singular, we have used he, and here also we have used she, right? Now, in the tag, as in other yes-no type questions, the verb is shifted to the beginning of the tag. Look at this. Your mother is a teacher. Isn't she? Our verb comes first, which is followed by a pronoun. Mary will be here soon, won't she? Verb won't come first, then is followed by she. Jim should pass the exam, shouldn't he? Right? Then the other rule is that the other be forms, that is are, is, was, were, are repeated in the tag. For example, they are students. This are is again repeated over here. Aren't they? They were in the college yesterday. Weren't they? Right? So it is repeating, but here it is taking, if it is positive, here it will be negative. If it is negative, it will be positive, right? So we learn that in the tag, as in other yes, no type questions, the verb is shifted to the beginning of the tag and the other be forms are repeated in the tag. Now, if there is no anomalous verb in the statement, then you should use do, does, did, right? For example, they go now. There is no verb. Then depending on the subject, you will use over here. They go now, don't they? She takes coffee, singular. So doesn't she? So depending on this, we use our verbs don't, do, does, and did. And when will we use did? In the past form, we use did. In the case of linking verbs other than be form, the appropriate form of do in the statement is repeated in the tag. Like, for example, they attend college every day, don't they? Present tense, third person plural. You get good marks. You got good marks last year, didn't you? She also works at home, doesn't she? Right? So we use accordingly when it is personal plural or second personal person singular and third person singular. Now, so what do we do? If there is no verb in the sentence, then we use verbs like do, does, did, right? Depending on the subject. And we know that do and does is used in the present tense and did we use it in the past tense, right? Now, we also know that in the case of linking verbs other than be form, the appropriate form of do in the statement is repeated in the tag, right? Now, let us try to frame some questions with these answers. Frame questions to elicit the following answers. The answer that they have given is, he is my friend. What will be your question? Just think over. It is an audio book. What will be your question? It's a Thursday. This is the answer that you have given. So what question that you might have asked? English is my favorite subject. So what question the other person has asked that you have given this choice? I would like to become an astronaut. So your answer is this. What was the question? Right? So let's check. He is my friend. Who is that man or who is he? The question had been that, and the answer was, he is my friend. It is an audio book. What is this? Right? If the question is, what is this? Then your answer was, it is an audio book. Right? If the answer is, it's a Thursday, what must have been your question? What day is today? Or what day is it today? Right? You have asked a question like this. What day is today? Or what day is it today? So you get an answer, it's a Thursday. The answer was, English is my favorite subject. So what is the question that the other person must have asked? What is your favorite subject? Where selection of indefinite number is involved, which is your favorite subject? You can ask a question. If the selection of indefinite number is involved, you will ask, which is your favorite subject? Where selection among a limited definite number is involved, right? What would you like to become? Sorry, involved, right? Which is your favorite subject? You are using it where your selection is a limited number. But what is your favorite subject? I ask a question where selection among indefinite number is involved, right? Now the next question they asked is, I would like to become an astronaut. So what was the question? What would you like to become? So this is how you should learn to frame questions. Oh, it's not that easy as said and done. Framing questions, generally, we find it very difficult, and this is how we should learn how to frame a question. So what are the questions? Who is that man? Or who is he? What is this? What day is today? What day is it today? Or what is your favorite subject? When you want to ask without giving any choice, you ask this. Or if you give them choice, which is your favorite subject, say English or math, right? When I give that, then you put this. What would you like to become? Right? Now, there are again a few more questions. Let's try to find a few more answers. Let's try to give questions to this. I study in New Ideas College. It is near Charminar. I joined last year. I go by bus. I'm 18 years old, right? So the answer was, I study in New Ideas College. What could the question be? Where do you study? So when you ask, where do you study? Your answer is, I study in New Ideas College, right? It is near Charminar. Now guess what the question they might have asked? Where is it? So then you give the answer, it is near Charminar. You have given an answer, I joined last year. What was the question they might have asked? Then the question could be, when did you join the college? Or when did you join? Right? When both of us know about what we are speaking, then we don't need to put the word college over there. Right? Then say, the answer was, I go by bus. So what could have been the question? How do you go to college? Right? Then the answer was, I'm 18 years old. The question is, how old are you? Right? Now, there are again some more questions where you can frame questions. That is, my college is about 10, this is little higher end. My college is about 10 kilometers from home. I spend nearly rupees 30 every day on transport. I go to the playground once a week. I play football. I play quite well. I've been playing for the last 3 years. What could your questions be? The questions could be, how far is your college from your home? How much do you spend on transport? How often do you go to the playground? What game do you play? How well do you play? How long have you been playing? Right? So these could have been the probable questions. Now for these, you see, the one with number 10 is my jersey. What could have been the question? I like Ronaldo the most. Yes, I would love to meet him. No, I don't watch cricket. Yes, I used to play cricket when I was in school. I prefer to play football. What could the questions be? Which one is your jersey? Who do you like the most? Which player do you like the most? Would you like to meet him? Do you watch cricket? Did you ever play cricket? What do you prefer to play? Right? Now look at this. Add tags to these questions. Seema sings well, right? He did not go to college. He is suffering from fever. He doesn't swim well. They are celebrating their victory. Now let us look at the answer. Seema sings well because there is no verb. We have to use doesn't she. He did not go to college. Past tense. Did he? She is suffering from fever, isn't she? He doesn't swim well. Does he? They are celebrating their victory, aren't they? Right? Now, look at this. He can walk fast. She would like this shift. They had their lunch. She will listen to you. They don't go to the market often. You painted well. What could the tag be? He can walk fast, can't he? She would like this gift. Wouldn't she? Wouldn't he? Wouldn't she? It is. It is not he. It is wouldn't she. They had their lunch, hadn't they? She will listen to you, won't she? They don't go to the market, do they? You paint well, don't you? Right. So this is how you frame your questions, and this is how we learn English, how to frame questions, how to answer those questions also, right? So what we have learned that there are different types of asking questions, that is WH questions or information questions, where you use what, where, when, how, right? So each question will take this thing. Then you have yes, no questions. You have alternative questions. You have tag questions. You have negative questions, and you have questions with prepositions, right? So we also learned certain rules on prepositions, where we said that if the statement is affirmative, the tag is negative. If the statement is negative, the tag is affirmative, right? And the pronoun is used in the tag according to the number, right? And in the tag, as in other yes no type questions, the verb is shifted in the beginning of the tag, right? So these are the rules that we learned. I hope you all have understood. Try to do the other exercises that are there behind the textbook. And if you have any doubts, ask me. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, stay home. Don't venture out unless it is essential. Wear your mask, maintain your distance. Thank you very much once again.